everyone, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Tonight we are reading Henry IV, Part 1 by William Shakespeare, adapted by Taylor Phillips.
Yay.
Yay.
Tonight, playing John Falstaff,
Bernie Bosio.
playing Prince Hal,
John DeFilippo.
playing Henry Hotspur Percy and a Traveler. Marty,
Article.
playing King Henry and Francis,
Harley Diamond.
playing, I can't say it,
Worcester.
Worcester, playing Worcester and Sheriff.
Barry.
Worcester. Playing PETO, Sir Richard, Vernon, and Mortimer.
Taylor Lynne.
Playing BARDOLPH, Westmoreland, Glendower, and Sir Michael.
Tom Kane.
Playing Northumberland, a carrier, Douglas, and the Archbishop of York.
Michael Janove.
Playing Ned POINS and Sir Walter Blunt.
Mira Singer.
Playing Mistress Quickly, Lady Percy, John of Lancaster, and the Messenger.
Kaitlyn Mitchell.
Act 1, Scene 1, London, the Palace. Enter King Henry, Lord John of Lancaster, the Earl of Westmoreland, Sir Walter Blunt, and others.
So shaken as we are, so wan with care, find we a time for frighted peace to pant, and breathe short-winded accents of new broils, to be commenced in strands afar remote. No more the thirsty entrance of this soil shall daub her lips with her own children's blood. No more shall trenching war channel her fields, nor bruise her flowerets with the armed hoofs of hostile paces. Those opposed eyes shall now in mutual, well-beseeming ranks march all one way and be no more opposed against acquaintance, kindred, and allies. As far as to the sepulchre of Christ, whose soldier now, under whose blessed cross we are impressed and engaged to fight, forth with the power of English shall we levy, to chase these pagans in those holy fields, over whose acres walked those blessed feet, which 1400 years ago were nailed for our advantage on the bitter cross. But this our purpose now is 12-month old, and bootless 'tis to tell you we will go. Therefore we meet not now. Then let me hear of you, my gentle cousin Westmoreland. What yesteryear, yesternight, our council did decree in forwarding this dear expedient?
My liege, this haste was hot in question. But yesternight, when all athwart there came a post from Wales, loaded with heavy news, whose worst was that the noble Mortimer, leading the men of Herefordshire to fight against the irregular and wild Glendower, was by the rude hands of the Welshmen taken. 1,000 of his people butchered, upon whose dead corpse there was such misuse.
It seems then that the tidings of this broil break off our business for the Holy Land.
This matched with other did, my gracious lord, for more uneven and unwelcome news came from the north, and thus it did import. On Holyrood Day, the gallant Hotspur there, young Henry Percy, and brave Archibald, the ever valiant and approved Scot, at Humdens met, where they did spend a sad and bloody hour, and by discharge of their artillery, and shape of likelihood the news was told, for he that brought them in the very heat and pride of their contention to take horse, uncertain of the issue anyway.
Here is a dear, a true industrious friend, Sir Walter Blunt, new lighted from his horse, stained with the variation of each soil, betwixt that Holmedon and this seat of ours, and he hath brought us smooth and welcome news. The Earl of Douglas is discomfited, 10,000 bold Scots, 22 knights, balked in their own blood, did Sir Walter see on Holmedon's plains. Of prisoners, Hotspur took Mordrake, Earl of Fife, an eldest son to beaten Douglas, and the Earl of Atholl, of Murray, Angus, and Menteith? And is not this an honorable spoil? A gallant prize? Ha, cousin, is it not?
In faith, it is the conquest for a prince to boast of.
Yea, there thou makest me sad and makest me sin in envy that my lord Northumberland should be the father to so blessed a son who is the theme of honor's tongue amongst a grove, the very straightest plant, who with sweet fortune's minion and her pride, whilst I, by looking on the praise of him, see riot and dishonor stain the brow of my young Harry. Oh, that it could be proved that some night-tripping fairy had exchanged in cradle clothes our children where they lay, and called mine Percy, his Plantagenet. Then would I have his Harry, and he mine. But let him from my thoughts. What think thou, coz, of this young Percy's pride? The prisoners which he in this adventure hath surprised to his own use, he keeps and sends me word I shall have none but Mordrake, Earl of Fife.
This is his uncle's teaching. This is Worcester, malevolent to you in all aspects, which makes him prune himself and bristle up the crest of youth against your dignity.
But I have sent for him to answer this, and for this cause awhile we must neglect our holy purpose to Jerusalem. Cousin, on Wednesday next our council we will hold at Windsor. So inform the lords, but come yourself with speed to us again, for more is to be said and to be done, than out of anger can be uttered.
I will, my liege.
Exeunt. Scene 2, London, an apartment of the princes. Enter Prince Hal and Falstaff.
Now, Hal, what time of the day is it, lad?
What a devil hast thou to do with the time of day? Unless hours were cups of sack, and minutes capons, and clocks the tongues of bawds, and dials the signs of leaping houses, and the blessed sun himself a hot fair wench in flame-colored taffeta, I see no reason why thou shouldst be so superfluous to demand the time of the day.
Indeed, you come near me now, Hal, for we that take purses go by the moon and the 7 stars, and not by Phoebus, he that wandering night so fair. And I prithee, sweet wag, when thou art king, as God may save thy grace, majesty, I should say, for grace thou wilt have none.
What? None?
No, by my troth, not so much as will serve to prologue and to an egg and butter.
Well, how then? Come, roundly, roundly.
Marry then, sweet wag, when thou art king, let not us that are squires of the night body be called thieves of the day's beauty. Let us be Diana's foresters, gentlemen of the shade, minions of the moon, and let we be men of good government, being governed as the sea is by our noble and chaste mistress of the moon, under whose countenance we steal.
Thou sayest well, and holds it well too. For the fortune of us that are the moon's men doth ebb and flow like the sea, being governed, as the sea is, by the moon. As for proof now, a purse of gold must resolutely snatched on Monday night, and most dissolutely spent on Tuesday morning, got with swearing, lay by, and spent with crying, bring in, now in as low an ebb as the foot of the ladder, and by in as high a flow as the ridge of the gallows.
By the Lord, thou sayest true, lad, and is not my hostess of the tavern a most sweet wench?
As the honey of a hybla, my old lad of the castle, and is not a buff jerkin a most sweet rope of durance?
What a plague have I to do with a buff jerkin?
Why, what a pox have I to do with my mistress of the tavern?
Well, thou hast called her to a reckoning many a time and oft.
Did I ever call for thee to pay thy part?
no. I'll give thee thy due. Thou hast paid all there.
Yea, and elsewhere, so far as my coin could stretch, and where it would not, I have used my credit.
Yea, and so used it, that were it not here apparent that thou art heir apparent. But I prithee, sweet wag, shall there be a gallows standing in England when thou art king, and resolution thus far as it is, with the rusty curb of an old father antic the law? Do not thou, when thou art king, hang a thief.
No, thou shalt.
Shall I? Oh, rare! By the Lord, I'll be a brave judge.
Thou judgest false already. I mean, thou wilt have the hanging of the thieves, and so become a rare hangman.
Ah, well, how well, and in some sort it jumps with my humor as well as waiting in the court, I can tell you.
For obtaining of suits?
Yea, for obtaining of suits whereof the hangman hath no clean wardrobe. Blood. I am as melancholy as a gib cat or a lug bear.
Or an old lion, or a lover's lute. Or what sayest thou to a hare, or the melancholy of Morty?
Ah, thou hast the most unsavory similes, and art indeed the most comparative, rascaliest, sweet young prince. But now, I prithee, trouble me no more with vanity. I would to God thou and I were a commodity of good names, were to be bought. An old lord of the council rated me the other day in the street about you, sir, but I marked him not, and yet he talked very wisely, but I regarded him not.
Thou didst well, and for wisdom cries out in the streets, and no man regards it.
Frozen. Hold.
Thanks, guys.
It was brilliant. Brilliant. It went so fast. I couldn't believe it.
Bertie, you were great.
It's the bottom of page 7 in the PDF. We didn't keep going, so it's still your line. Oh, thou hast
Oh.
wonderful iteration.
Okay. Oh, thou hast damnable iteration, and art indeed able to corrupt us.
Uh-oh.
Well, that took us a little further.
That screen is really perfect for Falstaff, the way he froze.
We'll always remember Bernie like this.
What do you need? It's just there.
Feel the burn.
Yeah, somebody read it while he's frozen.
Okay, Mary Lynne, I'm going to read it, all right?
Go for it.
All right. Oh, thou hast damnable literation, and art indeed able to corrupt a saint. Thou hast done much harm upon me, Hal. God forgive thee for it. Before I knew thee, Hal, I knew nothing. And now am I, if a man should speak truly, little better than one of the wicked. I must give over his life, and I will give it over. I, Lord, am I not? I am a villain. I'll be damned for never a king's son in Christendom.
Where shall we take a purse tomorrow, Jack?
Zoons, where thou wilt, lad. I'll make one, and I do not call me villain and baffle me.
I see a good amendment of life in thee, from praying to purse taking.
Why, Hal, 'tis my vocation, Hal. 'Tis no sin for a man to labor at his vocation. POINS! Oh, if men were to be saved by merit, what hole in hell were hot enough for him? This is the most omnipotent villain!
Good morrow, Ned.
Good morrow, sweet Hal. What says Monsieur Remorse? What says Sir John Sack and Sugar? Jack, how agrees the devil in thee about thy soul, that thou soldst him on Good Friday last for a cold capon's leg?
Sir John stands to his word. The devil shall have his bargain, for he was never yet a breaker of proverbs. He will give the devil his due.
Then art thou damned for keeping thy word with the devil.
Else he had been damned for cousining the devil.
But my lads, tomorrow morning by 4 o'clock, early at Gad's Hill, there are pilgrims going to Canterbury with rich offerings, and traders riding to London with fat purses. I have visitors for you all. You have horses for yourselves. I have bespoke supper tomorrow night in Eastcheap. If you will go, I will stuff your purses full of crowns. If you will not, tarry home and be hanged.
If I tarry at home and go not, I'll hang you for going. How wilt thou make one?
Who? I, Rob? I a thief? Nah, not I, by my faith.
Oh, there's neither honesty, manhood, nor good fellowship in thee. Nor thou camest not of the blood royal, if thou darest not stand for 10 shillings.
Well, come what will, I'll tarry at home.
By the Lord, I'll be a traitor then, when thou art king.
I care not.
Sir John, I prithee, leave the prince and me alone. I will lay him down such reasons for this adventure that he shall go.
Well, God give thee the spirit of persuasion, and him the ears of profiting, that what thou speakest may move, and what he hears may be believed, that the true prince may, for recreation's sake, prove a false thief. Farewell. You shall find me in Eastcheap.
Exit Falstaff.
Now, my good sweet honey lord, ride with us tomorrow. I have a jest to execute that I cannot manage alone. Falstaff, Bardolph, and PETO shall rob those men that we have already waylaid. Yourself and I will not be there. And when they have the booty, if you or I do not rob them, cut this head off of my shoulders.
How shall we part with them in setting forth?
Why, we will set forth before or after them, and appoint them a place of meeting, wherein it is at our pleasure to fail. And then they adventure upon the exploit themselves, which they shall have no sooner achieved, but will set upon them.
Yea, but 'tis like that they will know us by our horses, by our habits, and by every other appointment to be ourselves.
Cut. Our horses they shall not see. I'll tie them in the wood. Our visitors and habits we will change after we leave them.
Yea, but I doubt they will be too hard for us.
I know them to be as true-bred cowards as ever turned back, and if they fight longer than they see reason, I'll forswear arms. The virtue of this jest will be the incomprehensible lies that this same fat rogue will tell us when we meet at supper. How 30 at least he fought, what wards, what blows, what extremities he endured, and in the report of this lies the jest.
Well, I'll go with thee. Provide us all the things necessary, and meet me tomorrow night in Eastcheap. There I'll sup. Farewell.
Farewell, my lord.
Exit POINS.
I know you all, and will a while uphold the unyoked humor of your idleness. Yet herein will I imitate the sun, who doth permit the base, contagious clouds to smother up his beauty from the world, that when he pleased to begin to be himself, being wanted, he may be more wondered at by breaking through the foul and ugly mists of vapors that seem to strangle him. If all the years were playing holidays, to sport would be as tedious as to work, but when they seldom come, they wish or come, and nothing pleaseth but rare accidents. So when this loose behavior I throw off, and pay the debt I never promised, by how much better than I meant my word, by so much shall I falsify men's hopes. And like bright metal on a sullen ground, my reformation, glittering over my fault, shall show more goodly and attract more eyes than that which no foil to set it off. I'll so offend, and make a fence of skill, redeeming time when men think least I will.
Exit Prince Hal. Scene 3, London, the Palace. Enter King Henry, Northumberland, Earl of Worcester, Hotspur, Sir Walter Blunt, with others.
My blood hath been too cold and temperate, unapt to stir at these indignities, and you have found me, for accordingly you tread upon my patience. But be sure I will from henceforth rather be myself, mighty and to be feared, than my condition which hath been smooth as oil, soft as young down, and therefore lost that title of respect which the proud soul ne'er pays but to the proud.
Our house, my sovereign liege, little deserves the scourge of greatness to be used on it, and that same greatness too which our own hands have helped to make so portly.
Worcester, get thee gone, for I do see danger and disobedience in thine eyes. O sir, your presence is too bold and peremptory, and majesty might never yet endure the moody frontier of the servant brow. You have good leave to leave us. When we need your use and counsel, we shall send for you.
Exit Worcester.
My liege, I did deny no prisoners, but I remember when the fight was done, when I was dry with rage and extreme toil, breathless and faint, leaning upon my sword, came there a certain lord, neat and trimly dressed, fresh as a bridegroom, and his chin new reaped showed like a stubble land at harvest home. He was perfumed like a milliner. Soldiers bore dead bodies by. He called them untaught knaves, unmannerly, to bring a slovenly, unhandsome course betwixt the wind and his nobility. With many holiday and lady terms he questioned me, amongst the rest demanded my prisoners in your majesty's behalf. I then, all smarting with my wounds being cold, to be so pestered with a popinjay, out of my grief and my impatience, answered neglectingly, I know not what. He should or he should not, for he made me mad to see him shine so brisk and smell so sweet, and talk so like a waiting gentlewoman of guns and drums and wounds. God save the mark! So cowardly, and but for these vile guns, he would himself have been a soldier. This bald, unjointed chat of his, my lord. I answered indirectly, as I said, and I beseech you, let not his report come current for an accusation betwixt my love and your high majesty.
The circumstance considered, good my lord, whate'er Lord Harry Percy then had said to such a person and in such a place at such a time, with all the rest retold, may reasonably die and never rise to do him wrong or in any way impeach what then he said, so he unsay it now.
Why, yet he doth deny his prisoners, but with proviso and exception, that we at our own charge shall ransom straight his brother-in-law, the foolish Mortimer, who on my soul hath wilfully betrayed the lives of those that he did lead to fight against that great magician, damned Glendower, whose daughter, as we hear, the Earl of March, hath lately married. Shall our coffers then be emptied to redeem a traitor home? Shall we by treason and indent with fears when they have lost and forfeited themselves? No, on the barren mountains let him starve, for I shall never hold that man, my friend, whose tongue shall ask me for one penny cost to ransom home revolted Mortimer.
Revolted Mortimer! He never did fall off, my sovereign liege, but by the chance of war to prove that true needs no more but one tongue for all those wounds. Those mouthed wounds, which valiantly he took when on the gentle Severn's sedgy bank in single opposition hand to hand, he did confound the best part of an hour in changing hardiment with great Glendower. Never did base and rotten policy color her workings, nor could the noble Mortimer receive so many, and all willingly, then let not him be slandered with revolt.
Thou dost belie him, Percy. Thou dost belie him. He never did encounter with Glendower. I tell thee, he durst as well have met the devil alone as Owen Glendower for an enemy. Art thou not ashamed? But, sirrah, henceforth, let me not hear you speak of Mortimer. Send me your prisoners with the speediest means, or you shall hear in such a kind from me as will displease you.
Exeunt King Henry, Blunt, and Train. Re-enter Worcester.
And if the devil come and roar for them, I will not send them. Speak of Mortimer? Zounds, I will speak of him, and let my soul want mercy if I do not join with him. Yea, on his part I'll empty all these veins, and shed my dear blood drop by drop in the dust. But I will lift the downtrodden Mortimer as this unthankful king, as this ingrate and cankered Bolingbroke.
Brother, the king hath made your nephew mad.
Who struck this heat up after I was gone?
He will forsooth have all my prisoners, and when I urged the ransom once again of my wife's brother, then his cheek looked pale, and on my face he turned an eye of death, trembling even at the name of Mortimer.
I cannot blame him. Was he not proclaimed by Richard that dead is the next of blood?
It was. I heard the proclamation. Then it was when the unhappy king, whose wrong in us God pardoned, did set forth upon his Irish expedition, from whence he intercepted, did return to be deposed and shortly murdered.
And for whose death we in the world's wide mouth live scandalized and foully spoken of.
But soft, I pray you. Did King Richard then proclaim my brother Edmund Mortimer heir to the crown?
He did. Myself did hear it.
Nay, and I cannot blame his cousin king that wished him on the barren mountain starve. But shall it be that you, that set the crown upon the head of this forgetful man, and for his sake wear the detested blot of murderous subordination? Shall it be that you a world of curses undergo, being the agents or base second means, the cords, the ladder, or the hangman rather? Oh, pardon me that I descend so low to show the line and the predicament wherein you range under this subtle king. Shall it for shame be spoken in these days, or fill up chronicles in time to come, that men of your nobility and power did gauge them both in an unjust belief, as both of you, God pardon it, have done, to put down Richard, that sweet, lovely rose, and plant this thorn, this canker, Bolingbroke? And shall it in more shame be further spoken that you are fooled, discarded, and shook off by him for whom these shames you underwent? No, yet time serves wherein you may redeem your banished honors and restore yourselves into the good thoughts of the world again. Revenge the jeering and disdained contempt of this proud king, who studies day and night to answer all the debt he owes to you, even with the bloody payment of your deaths. Therefore I say
Cousin, say no more. And now I will unclasp a secret book, and to your quick conceiving discontents, I'll read you matter deep and dangerous, as full of peril and adventurous spirit as to overwalk a current roaring loud on the unsteadfast footing of a spear.
If he fall in, good night, or sink or swim. Send danger from the east unto the west, so honor cross it from the north to south, and let them grapple. Oh, the blood more stirs to rouse a lion than to start a hare. By heaven, methinks it were an uneasy leap to pluck bright honor from the pale-faced moon, or dive into the bottom of the deep where fathom line could never touch the ground, and pluck up drowned honor by the locks. So he doth redeem her thence, might wear without curval all her dignities, but out upon this half-faced fellowship.
Cousin, give me audience for a while. those same noble Scots that are your prisoners.
I'll keep them all. By God, he shall not have a Scot of them.
You start away and lend no ear unto my purposes. Those prisoners you shall keep.
Nay, I will. That's flat. He said he would not ransom Mortimer, forbade my tongue to speak of Mortimer. Him lies asleep, and in his ear I'll holla, Mortimer. Nay, I'll have a starling shall be taught to speak nothing but Mortimer, and give it to him, to keep his anger still in motion.
Hear you, cousin, a word.
All studies here I solemnly defy, save how to gall and pinch this Bolingbroke, and that same sword and buckler Prince of Wales, but that I think his father loves him not, and would be glad he met with some mischance. I would have him poisoned with a pot of ale.
Farewell, kinsman. I'll talk to you when you are better tempered to attend.
Why? What a wasp-stung and impatient fool. I gotta break into this woman's mood, tying thine ear to no tongue but thine own.
You, God forgive me, good uncle. Tell your tale. I have done.
Nay, you have not. To it again, we will stay your leisure.
I have done, in faith.
Then once more to your Scottish prisoners. Deliver them up without their ransom straight, and make the Douglas son your only mean for powers in Scotland, which, for divers reasons, which I shall send you written, be assured, will easily be granted. And you, my lord, your son in Scotland being thus employed, shall secretly into the bosom creep of that same noble prelate, well beloved, the Archbishop.
Of York, is it not?
True. Who bears hard his brother's death at Bristol, the Lord Scroop. I speak this not in estimation at what I think might be, but what I know is ruminated, plotted, and set down, and stays, only stays but to behold the face on that occasion that shall bring it on.
And then the power of Scotland and of York to join with Mortimer?
And so they shall.
In faith, it is exceedingly well aimed.
And 'tis no little reason bids us speed to save our heads by raising of a head. For bear ourselves as even as we can. The king will always think him in our debt, and think we think ourselves unsatisfied, till he hath found a time to pay us home. And see already how he doth begin to make us strangers to his looks of love.
He does, he does. We will be avenged on him.
Cousin, farewell. No further go in this than I by letters shall direct your course. When time is ripe, which will be suddenly, I'll steal to Glendower and Lord Mortimer, where you and Douglas and our powers at once, as I will fashion it, shall happily meet to bear our fortunes and our strong arms, which we now hold at much uncertainty.
Farewell, good brother. We shall thrive, I trust.
Uncle, adieu. Oh, let the hours be short till fields and blows and groans applaud our sport.
Exeunt. Act 2, Scene 1, Rochester, an inn yard. Enter a carrier with a lantern in his hand.
Oh, not for by the day I'll be hanged. Charles Wayne is over the new chimney, and yet our horse not back. What? Esther, come away and be hanged. Away. What, Esther? A plague on thee, canst not hear? For not as good deed as drink the fate on thee. I am very villain. Come and be hanged.
Enter PETO.
Oh, good morrow, carrier. What's o'clock?
I think it be 2 o'clock.
Oh, I prithee, lend me thy lantern to see my gelding in the stable.
Nay, by God, soft. I know a trick worth 2 of that, faith.
I pray thee, lend me thine.
Lend me thine lantern, Poti. Marry, I see thee hanged first.
Sirrah Carrier, what time do you mean to come to London?
Time enough to go to bed with a candle. I warrant thee I must call up the gentlemen. They will along with company, for they have great charge. Farewell.
What ho!
Enter Bardolph.
Good morrow, Master PETO. It holds warrant that I hold you yesternight. There's a Franklin in the wild of Kent hath brought 300 marks with him in gold. I heard him tell it to one of his company last night at supper. A kind of auditor, one that hath abundance of charge too. God knows what. They are up already and call for eggs and butter. They will away presently.
Sirrah, if they meet not with St. Nicholas clerks, I'll give thee the snack.
No, I'll none of it. I pray thee keep that for the hangman.
What talkst thou to me of the hangman? If I hang, I'll make a fat pair of gallows, for if I hang, old Sir John hangs with me, and thou knowest he is no starveling. Come, bid the ostler bring my gelding out of the stable. We ride today.
Exeunt. Scene 2, the highway near Gadshill. Enter Prince Hal and POINS.
Come, shelter, shelter. I have removed Falstaff's horse, and he frets like a gummed velvet.
Stand close.
POINS and Prince Hal exit. Enter Falstaff laboring.
I am accursed to rob in that thief's company. The rascal hath removed my horse and tied him I know not where. If I travel but 4 foot by the square further a foot, I shall break my wind. Oh, well, I doubt not but to die a fair death for all of this, if I escape hanging for killing the rogue. I have sworn his company hourly, any time this 22 years, and yet I am bewitched by the rogue's company. Pawns, hell, a plague upon you both! Bardolph, PETO, a plague upon it when thieves cannot be true to one another!
They whistle within.
Oh, a plague upon you all!
Enter Prince Hal and POINS.
Give me my horse, you rogues! Give me my horse! And be hanged!
Peace, you fat guts. Lie down, lay thine ear close to the ground, and list if thou canst hear the tread of travelers.
Have you any letters to lift me up again, being down? What a plague mean you to colt me thus?
Thou liest, thou art not colted, thou art uncolted.
I prithee, good Prince Hal, help me to my horse, good King's son.
Out, you rogue! Shall I be your ulster?
Oh, go hang thyself in thine own heir apparent garters. If I be ta'en, I'll peach for this. And I have not ballads made up on you and sung to filthy tunes. Let a cup of sack be my poison. When a jest is so forward and a foot too, I hate that.
Enter PETO and Bardolph.
What news?
Case you! On with your vizards! There's money of the king's coming down the hill. 'Tis going to the king's exchequer. There's enough to make us all.
To be hanged.
Sirs, you three shall front them in the narrow lane. Ned POINS and I will walk lower. If they escape from your encounter, then they light on us.
How many be there of them?
Some 8 or 10.
Zoons! And will they not rob us?
What, a coward, Sir John Paunch?
Indeed, I am not John of Gaunt, your grandfather, but yet no coward, Hal.
Well, we leave that to the proof.
Sirrah Jack, Thy horse stands behind the hedge. When thou needst him, there thou shalt find him. Farewell, and stand fast.
Ed, where are our disguises?
Here, hard by, stand close.
Oh, my masters, happy man be his dole, say I. Every man to his business.
Step aside. Enter travelers.
Oh, come, neighbor. The boy shall lead our horses down the hill. We'll walk afoot a while and ease our legs.
Falstaff, Bardolph, and PETO advance.
Oh, Jesus, bless us.
Strike! Run down with them! Cut the villains' throats! Ah, horse-son caterpillars, bacon-fed knaves! They hate us, youth! Down with them! Fleece them!
Oh, we are undone, both we and ours forever.
Hang you, gore-bellied knaves! Are you undone? No, you fat chuffs! I would your store were here. On bacon's on! What, you knaves? Young men must live!
They rob and bind the travelers. Exeunt thieves. Re-enter Prince Hal and Pawns.
Thieves have bound the true men. Now could thou and I rob the thieves and go merrily to London. It would be argument for a week, laughter for a month, and a good jest forever.
Stand close, I hear them coming.
Prince Hal and Pawns hide. Enter the thieves again.
Come, my masters, let us share, and then to horse before day. And the prince and Pawns be not two errand cowards. There's no equity stirring. There's no more valor in that Pawns than in a wild duck.
As the thieves split the spoils, Prince Hal and Pawns in disguise set upon them.
Your money, villains!
Help!
Oh,
Bardolph and PETO run away. Falstaff, after a blow or two, runs away too, leaving the booty behind them.
Got with much ease. Now merrily to horse. The thieves are all scattered and possessed with fear so strongly that they dare not meet each other. Each takes his fellow for an officer. Away, good Ned. Falstaff sweats to death and lards the lean earth as he walks along. But not for hanging, I pity him.
How the rogue roared.
Exeunt. Scene 3, Warkworth Castle. Enter Hotspur alone, reading a letter.
But for mine own part, my lord, I could be well contented to be there, in respect of the love I bear your house. He could be contented. Why is he not, then? The purpose you undertake is dangerous. Why, that's certain. But I tell you, my lord fool, out of this nettle, danger, we pluck this flower, safety. The purpose you undertake is dangerous. The friends you have named uncertain, the time itself unsorted, and your whole plot too light for the counterpoise of so great an opposition. So you say, so you say. I say, what a lack brain is this? By the Lord, our plot is a good plot as ever was laid. Our friends, true and constant, a good plot, good friends, and full of expectation. Why, my Lord of York commends the plot and the general course of action. Zounds, and I were now by this rascal, I could brain him with his lady's fan. Is there not my father, my uncle, and myself, Lord Edmund Mortimer, my Lord of York, and Owen Glendower? Is there not besides the Douglas? Have I not all their letters to meet me in arms by the 9th of the next month? And are they not some of them set forward already? What a pagan rascal is this, an infidel. Now, in very sincerity of heart, will he to the king and lay open all our proceedings. Oh, I could divide myself and go to buffets for moving such a dish of skim milk with so honorable an action. Hang him, let him tell the king. We are prepared. I will set forth tonight.
Enter Lady Percy.
How now, Kate? I must leave you within these 2 hours.
Oh my good lord, why are you thus alone? For what offense have I this fortnight been a banished woman from my Harry's bed? Tell me, sweet lord, what is it that takes from thee thy stomach, pleasure, and thy golden sleep? Why dost thou bend thine eyes upon the earth and start so often when thou sitt'st alone? Why hast thou lost the fresh blood in thy cheeks and given my treasures and my rights of thee to thick-eyed musing and cursed melancholy? In thy faint slumbers I by thee have watched, and heard thee murmur tales of iron wars, speak terms of manage to thy bounding steed, cry courage to the field, and thou hast talked of sallies and retires, of trenches, tents, of palisadoes, frontiers, parapets, of basilisks, of cannon, culverin, of prisoners' ransom, and of soldiers slain, and all the currents of a heady fight. Thy spirit within thee hath been so at war, and thus hath so bestirred in thee in thy sleep, that beads of sweat have stood upon thy brow like bubbles in a late disturbed stream, and in thy face strange motions have appeared, such as we see when men restrain their breath on some great sudden hest. Oh, what portents are these? Some heavy business hath my lord in hand, and I must know it, else he loves me not. But hear you, my lord.
What sayest thou, my lady?
Out, you mad-headed ape! A weasel hath not such a deal of spleen as you are tossed with. In faith, I'll know your business. Harry, that I will. I fear my brother Mortimer doth stir about his title, and hath sent for you to line his enterprise. Come you, parakeeto, answer me directly. In faith, I'll break thy little finger, Harry, and if thou wilt not tell me all things true.
I love thee not. I care not for thee, Kate. This is no world to play with mammoths and to tilt with lips. We must have bloody noses and cracked crowns, and pass them current too. What sayest thou, Kate? What wouldst thou have with me?
Do you not love me? Do you not, indeed? Well, do not then, for since you love me not, I will not love myself. Do you not love me? Nay, tell me if you speak in jest or no.
Come, wilt thou see me ride? And when I am a horseback, I will swear I love thee infinitely. But hark you, Kate, I must not have you henceforth question me whither I go, nor reason whereabout. Whither I must. And to conclude this evening, must I leave you, gentle Kate? I know you wise, but yet no farther wise. Harry Percy's wife, constant you are, but yet a woman, and for secrecy, no lady closer. For I well believe that thou wilt not utter what thou dost not know. And so far will I trust thee, gentle Kate, and not an inch further. But hark you, Kate, whither I go, thither shall you go too. Today will I set forth, tomorrow you. Will this content you, Kate?
It must, of force.
And Scene 4, the Boarhead's Tavern, Eastcheap. Enter Prince Hal and POINS.
Where hast been, Hal?
With 3 or 4 loggerheads amongst 3 or 4 hogsheads. I have sounded the very base spring of humility. Sirrah, I am sworn brother to a leash of drawers, and can call them all by their Christian names as Tom, Dick, and Francis. They take it already upon their salvation that though I be but the Prince of Wales, yet I am the King of Courtesy, and tell me flatly, I am no proud Jack like Falstaff, but a Corinthian, a lad of metal, a good boy, by the Lord, so they call me. And when I am King of England, I shall command all the good lads in Eastcheap.
Enter Francis the Tapster. Francis? My lord, Lord, old Sir John with half a dozen more are at the door. Shall I
I'm
let them in?
sorry. I'm so sorry.
Sirrah, Falstaff and the rest of the thieves are at the door. Shall we be merry?
As merry as crickets, my lad.
I am now of all the humors that have showed themselves humors since the old days of Goodman Adam to the people age of this present 12 o'clock at midnight. I am not yet of Percy's mind, the Hotspur of the North, he that kills me some 6 or 7 dozen of Scots at a breakfast, washes his hands, and says to his wife, "Fie upon this quiet life, I want work." "Oh, my sweet Harry," says she, "how many hast thou killed today?" "Give me my roan horse a drench," says he, and answers, "Some 14." An hour late after, "A trifle, a trifle." I prithee, call in Falstaff, call in Ribs, call in Tallow.
Francis exits. Enter Falstaff, Bardolph, and PETO. Francis follows with the wine.
Welcome, Jack. Where hast thou been?
A plague on old cowards, I say, and a vengeance too. Marry and amen. Give me a cup of sack, boy. Is there no virtue extant?
He drinks.
Didst thou never see Titan kiss a dish of butter? Pitiful-hearted Titan that melted at the sweet tail of the sun. Thou didst, then behold that compound.
You rogue. Here's lime in this sack, too. There is nothing but roguery to be found in villainous man, and yet a coward is worse than a cup of sack with lime in it. Oh, villainous coward. Go thy ways, old Jack. Die when thou wilt, if manhood, good manhood, be not forgot upon the face of the earth, then am I a shotten herring. There lives not 3 good men unhanged in England, and one of them is fat and grows old. God help the while. A bad world, I say. A plague of old cowards, I stay still.
How now, Woolsack? What mutter you?
King's son, if I do not beat thee out of thy kingdom with a dagger of life and drive all thy subjects before thee like a flock of wild geese, I'll never wear hair on my face no more. You, Prince of Wales? Or that's you, a coward? Answer me that. And pawns, there.
Zoons, you fat paunch, and you call me a coward? By the Lord, I'll stab thee.
I call thee a coward? I'll see thee damned ere I call thee a coward. But I would give thee £1,000 I could run as fast as thou canst. You are straight enough in the shoulders, you care not who sees your back. Call you that backing of your friends? A plague upon such backing! Give me them that will face me! Give me a cup of sack! I am a rogue if I am drunk today.
Oh, villain, thy lips are scarce wiped since thou drunkst last.
All's one for that. A plague of old cowards still, say I.
Oh, what's the matter?
What's the matter? There be 3 of us here. Have they £1,000 this day morning?
Where is it, Jack? Where is it?
Where is it? 10 from us it is. 100 upon poor 3 of us.
What? 100, man.
I am a rogue. If I would not at half sword with 1,000 of them. 2 hours together. I have scraped by miracle. I am 8 times thrust through the doublet, 4 times through the hose, my buckler cut through and through, my sword hacked like a handsaw. Ecce signum. I never dealt this since I was a man. All would not do. A plague of all cowards. Let them speak.
He points to the other thieves.
If they speak more of less of than truth, they are villains and the sons of darkness.
Speak, sirs. How was it?
We 3 set upon some dozen.
16 at least, my lord.
Unmute.
And bound them.
No, they were not bound.
You rogue, they were bound. Every man of them, or I am a Jew, or else an Hebrew Jew.
As we were sharing, some 6 or 7 freshmen set upon us.
And unbound the rest, and then come together in the other.
Oh, what? Fought you with them all?
All? I know not what you call all, but if I not with 50 of them, I am a bunch of radish. If there were not 2 or 3 and 50 upon poor old Jack, then I am no 2-legged creature.
Pray God you have not murdered some of them.
Nay, that's past praying for. I have peppered 2 of them. 2, I am sure I have paid 2 rogues in buckram suits. I tell thee what, Hal, if I tell thee a lie, spit in my face, call me horse. Thou knowest my old word. Here I lay, and thus I bore my point. 4 rogues in buckram, let drive at me.
Wait, 4? Thou saidst but 2 even now.
4, Hal. I told thee 4.
Aye, he said 4.
These 4 came all affront and mainly thrust at me. I made me no more ado, but took all 7 of their points in my target. Thus,
Wait, 7? 7. Why? There were but 4 even now.
In buckram?
Aye, 4 in buckram suits.
Nay, by these hilts, or I am villain else. Dost thou hear me, Hal?
Aye, and mark thee too, Jack.
Do so, for it is worth thee listening to. These 9 in buckram that I told thee of,
So 2 more already.
their points being broken, began to give me ground, but I followed me close, came in foot and hand, and with a thought, 7 of the 11 I paid.
Oh, monstrous! 11 buckram men grown out of 2.
As the devil would have it, 3 misspected knaves in Kendall Green came at my back and let drive at me. Oh, but it was so dark, Hal, that thou couldst not see thy hand.
Why, how couldst thou know these men in Kendall Green when it was so dark thou couldst not see thy hand? Come, tell us your reason. What sayest thou to this?
Come, your reason, Jack, your reason.
Oh, what upon compulsion? Zoons! And I were at a strappado or all the racks in the world, I would not tell thee on compulsion. Give you a reason on compulsion. If reasons were as plentiful as blackberries, I would give no man a reason upon compulsion.
I'll be no longer guilty of this sin. This sanguine coward, this bed presser, this horseback breaker, this huge hill of flesh.
Blood You starveling, you elf-skin, you dried neat's tongue, you bull's pizzle, you stockfish! Oh, for breath to utter what is like thee, you pale as yard, you sheep, you bowcase, you vile standing cock!
Well, breathe a while, and then to it again, and when thou hast tired thyself in base comparisons, hear me speak but this. We two saw you three set on three, and bound them, and were masters of their wealth. Mark now how a plain tale shall put you down. Then did we two set on you three, and with a word outfaced you from your prize, and have it, yea, and can show it you here in the house. And Falstaff, you carried your guts away as nimbly, with as quick dexterity, and roared for mercy, and still run and roared as ever I heard bull calf. What a slave art thou, to hack thy sword as thou hast done, and then say it was in a fight? What trick, what device, what starting hole canst thou find out now to hide thee from this open and apparent shame?
Come, let's hear, Jack. What trick hast thou now?
By the Lord, I knew you as well as he that made you. Why, hear you, my masters, was it for me to kill the heir apparent? Should I turn upon the true prince? Why, thou knowest I am as valiant as Hercules. But beware instinct. The lion will not touch the true prince. Instinct is a great matter. I was now a coward on instinct. I shall think the better of myself and thee during my life. I for a valiant lion, and thou for a true prince.
Enter Mistress Quickly.
Oh, just you, my lord the prince.
Now, my lady the hostess, what sayest thou to me?
Marry, my lord, there is a nobleman at the court door would speak with you. He says he comes from your father.
Shall I give him an answer?
Prithee, do, Jack.
Faith, and I'll send him packing!
Exit Falstaff.
Now, sirs, by Our Lady, you fought fair. You were lions too. You ran away upon instinct. You will not touch the true prince. No, fie.
Faith, I ran when I saw others run.
Faith, tell me now in earnest, how came Falstaff's sword so hacked?
Why, he hacked it with his dagger and said he would swear the truth out of England, but he would make you believe it was done in fight and persuaded us to do the like.
Yes, and to tickle our noses with spear grass to make them bleed, and then to beslubber our garments with it, and swear it was the blood of true men. I did that. I did not this 7 years before. I blushed to hear his monstrous devices.
Oh, villain, thou stolest the cup of sack 18 years ago, and were taken with the manner. And ever since thou hast blushed extempore. Thou hadst fire and sword on thy side, and yet thou ranst away.
Re-enter Falstaff.
Here comes lean Jack. Here comes Barebone. How now, my sweet creature of bombast?
Is villainous news abroad. Here was Sir John Bracy from your father. You must to the court in the morning. That same mad fellow of the North, Percy, and he of Wales, saw the devil his true liegeman upon the cross of a Welsh hook. What a plague you call him.
Oh, Glendower.
Owen, the same, and his son-in-law Mortimer, and old Northumberland, and that sprightly Scot of Scots Douglas that runs a horseback up a hill perpendicular.
He that rides at high speed and with his pistol kills a sparrow flying.
You have hit it.
So did he never the sparrow.
Well, that rascal hath good mettle in him. He will not run.
Why? What a rascal art thou then to praise him so for running?
A horseback, you cuckoo! But afoot he will not budge a foot.
Yes, Jack, upon instinct.
I grant you, upon instinct. Well, he is there too, and one Mordake, and 1,000 blue caps more. Worcester is stolen away tonight. Thy father's beard is turned white with the news.
Why, then it is like if there come a hot June, and this civil buffeting hold, we shall buy maidenheads as they buy hobnails by the hundreds.
By the mass, lad, thou sayest true. It is like we shall have good trading that way. But tell me, Hal, ought not thou, horrible afeard, thou being heir apparent, could the world pick thee out 3 such enemies against as that fiend Douglas, that spirit Percy, and that devil Glendower? Art thou not horribly afraid? Doth not thy blood thrill at it?
Not a whiff of faith. I lack some of thy instinct.
Well, thou wert be horribly chid tomorrow when thou comest to thy father. If thou love me, practice an answer.
Do thou stand for my father and examine me upon the particulars of my life.
Shall I? Content.
Falstaff sits.
Oh, this chair shall be my state, this dagger my scepter, and this cushion my crown. Give me a couple to make my eyes look red, that it may be thought I have wept. For I must speak in passion, and I will do it in King Cambus's vein.
Well, here is my leg.
And here is my speech. Stand aside, nobility. Harry, I not only marvel where thou spendest thy time, but also how thou art accompanied. For thou the chamomile, the more it is trodden on, the faster it grows. So youth, the more it is wasted, the sooner it wears. That thou art my son, I have partly thy mother's word, partly my own opinion, but chiefly a villainous trick of thine eye and a foolish hanging of thy nether lip that doth warrant me. If then thou be son to me, here lies the point. Why, being son to me, art thou so pointed at? Shall the son of England prove a thief and take purses? A question to be asked. There is a thing, Harry, which thou hast often heard of, and it is known to many in our land by the name of pitch. This pitch, as ancient writers do report, doth defile. So doth the company thou keepest. For, Harry, now I do not speak to thee in drink, but in tears, not in pleasure, but in passion, not in my words only, but in words, in woes also. And yet there is a virtuous man whom I have often noted in thy company, but I know not his name.
What manner of man, and it like your majesty?
A goodly, portly man in faith, and a corpulent, of a cheerful look, a pleasing eye, and a most noble carriage, and as I think his age some 50, or by your lady, inclining to 60, and now I remember me. His name is FALSTAFF. If that man should be lewdly given, he deceiveth me. For, Harry, I see virtue in his looks. If then the tree may be known by the fruit, as the fruit by the tree, then peremptorily I speak it. There is virtue in that Falstaff. Him keep with, the rest banish. And tell me now, thou naughty varlet, tell me where hast thou been this month?
Dost thou speak like a king? Do thou stand for me, and I'll play my father.
Toast me? Oh, if thou dost it half so gravely, so majestically, both in word and matter, hang me up by the heels for a rabbit sucker or a poulter's hair.
As Hal sits in the throne.
Well, here I am set.
And here I stand. Judge, my master.
Now, Harry, whence come you?
My noble lord, from Eastcheap.
The complaints I hear of thee are grievous.
Blood, my lord, they are false. Nay, I'll tickle you for a young prince, at faith.
Swearest thou? Ungracious boy, henceforth never look on me. Thou art violently carried away from grace. There is a devil, haunts thee in the likeness of an old fat man. A ton of man is thy companion. Why dost thou converse with that trunk of humor, that bolting hulch of beastliness, that swollen parcel of dropsies, that huge bombard of sack, that stuffed cloak bag of guts, that roasted Manningtree ox with the pudding in his belly, that reverend vice, that gray iniquity, that father ruffian, that vanity in years. Wherein is he good, but to taste sack and drink it? Wherein neat and cleanly, but to carve a capon and eat it? Wherein cunning, but in craft? Wherein crafty, but in villainy? Wherein villainous, but in all things? Wherein worthy, but in nothing?
I would your grace would take me with you. Who means your grace?
That villainous, abominable misleader of youth, Falstaff, the old white-bearded Satan.
My lord, the man I know.
I know thou dost.
But to say I know more harm in him than in myself would to say more than I know. Now, that he is old, the more the pity. His white hairs do witness it. But that he is, saving your reverence, whoremaster, that I utterly deny. If sack and sugar be a fault, God help the wicked. If to be old and merry be a sin, then many an old host that I know is damned. If to be fat be to be hated, then Pharaoh's lean kine ought to be loved. No, my good lord. Banish PETO, banish BARDOLPH, banish POINS. But for sweet Jack Falstaff, kind Jack Falstaff, true Jack Falstaff, valiant Jack Falstaff, and therefore more valiant, being as he is old, Jack Falstaff. Banish not him thy Harry's company. Banish not him thy Harry's company. Banish plump Jack, and banish all the world.
I do. I will.
A loud knock-in. Exeunt Mistress quickly, Francis and Bardolph. Re-enter Bardolph, running.
Oh, my lord, the sheriff with the most monstrous watch is at the door.
Out, you rogue. Play out the play. I have much to say on behalf of that Falstaff.
Re-enter Mistress quickly.
Oh, yes, my lord. The sheriff and all the watch are at the door. They come to search the house. Shall I let them in?
Dost thou hear, Hal? Never call a true piece of gold a counterfeit. Thou art essentially mad without seeming so.
And now a natural coward without instinct.
I deny your major. If you will deny the sheriff, so if not, let him enter. If I become not a cut as well as another man, a plague of my bringing up, I hope I shall soon be strangled with a halter as another.
Go, hide thee behind the arras. The rest walk up above. My masters, for true face and good conscience.
Both which I have had, but the date is out, and therefore I'll hide me.
Call in the sheriff.
Exeunt all except Prince Hal and PETO. Enter Sheriff.
Now, Master Sheriff, what is your will with me?
First, pardon me, my lord. You and Cryath followed certain men unto this house.
Oh, what men?
Well, one of them is well known, my gracious lord. A gross, fat man. As fat as butter.
The man, I do assure you, is not here, for I myself at this time have employed him. And Sheriff, I will engage my word to thee that I will, by tomorrow dinner time, send him to answer thee or any man for anything he shall charge withal. And so let me entreat you to leave the house.
I will, my lord. There are two gentlemen having this robbery lost 300 marks.
It may be so. If he have robbed these gentlemen, he shall be answerable. And so, farewell.
Good night, my noble lord.
I think it is good morrow, is it not?
Indeed, my lord. I think it'd be 2 o'clock.
Exit Sheriff.
This oily rascal is known as well as Paul's. Go, call him forth.
Oh, Falstaff! Fast asleep behind the arras. Oh, and snorting like a horse.
Hark! How hard he fetches breath. Search his pockets.
PETO picks Falstaff's pockets.
What hast thou found?
Nothing but papers, my lord.
What there is, keep close. We'll read it at more advantage. There let him sleep till day. I'll to the court in the morning. We must all to the wars, and thy place shall be honorable. I'll procure this fat rogue a charge of foot, and I know his death will be a march of 12 score. The money shall be paid back again with advantage. Be with me betimes in the morning, and so good morrow, PETO.
Good morrow, good my lord.
Exeunt. Act 3, Scene 1, Bangor, the Archdeacon's house. Enter Hotspur, Booster, Mortimer, and Glendower.
These promises are fair, the party sure, and our induction full of prosperous hope.
Lord Mortimer and Cousin Glendower, will you sit down? And Uncle Worcester, a plague upon it. I have forgot the map.
No, here it is. Sit, Cousin Percy. Sit, good Cousin Hotspur. For by that name, as oft as Lancaster doth speak of you, his cheek looks pale, and with a rising sigh, he wishes you in heaven.
And you in hell, as oft as he hears Owen Glendower spoke of.
I cannot blame him. At my nativity, the front of heaven was full of fiery shapes, burning crescents, and at my birth, the frame and huge foundation of the earth shaked like a
Why, so it
coward.
would have done at the same reason if your mother's cat had but kittened, though yourself had never been born.
I say the earth did shake when I was born.
And I say the earth was not of my mind, if you suppose as fearing you shook it.
The heavens were all on fire. The earth did tremble.
Oh, then the earth shook to see the heavens on fire, and not in fear of your nativity. Diseased nature ofttimes breaks forth in strange eruptions.
Cousin, of many men I do not bear these crossings. Give me leave to tell you once again that at my birth, the front of heaven was full of fiery shapes. The goats ran from the mountains, and the herds were strangely clamorous to the frighted fields. These signs have marked me extraordinary, and of all the courses in my life do show I am not in the role of common man. Where is he living? Clipped in with the sea that chides the banks of England, Scotland, Wales, which calls me pupil, or hath read to me, and bring him out that is but woman's son, and can trace me in the tedious ways of art, and hold me peace in deep experiments.
I think there's no man speaks better Welsh.
Mortimer.
Look, peace, Cousin Mercy. You will make him mad.
I can call spirits from the vasty deep.
Why, so can I, or so can any man, but will they come when you do call for them?
Why, I can teach you, cousin, to command the devil.
If thou have power to raise him, bring him hither.
Come, no more of this unprofitable chat. Ooh.
3 times hath Henry Bolingbroke been head against my power. Thrice from the banks of Wye and sandy bottom Severn have I sent him bootless, home and weather-beaten back.
Our rights, according to our threefold order taken. England from Trent and Severn hitherto by south and east is to my part assigned. All westward, Wales and beyond the Severn shore, and all the fertile land within that bound to Owen Glendower. And, dear cuz, to you, the remnant northward lying off the Trent. And our indentures, Chipperets, are drawn, which being sealed interchangeably, a business that this knight may execute. Tomorrow, Cousin Percy, you and I and my good Lord of Worcester will set forth to meet your father in the Scottish power, as is appointed to us at Shrewsbury. My father Glendower is not ready yet, not shall we need his help these 14 days. Within that space you may have drawn together your tenants, friends, and neighboring gentlemen.
A shorter time will send me to you, lords, and in my conduct shall your ladies come.
Methinks my moiety, north from Burton here, in quantity equals not one of yours. See how this river comes me cranking in and cuts me from the best of all my land, a huge half moon, a monstrous cantle out. I'll have the current in this place dammed up, and here the smug and silver trench shall run in a new channel, fair and evenly. It shall not wind with such a deep intent to rob me of so rich a bottom here.
Not wind. It shall. It must. You see it doth.
Yea, but mark how he bears his course, and runs me up with like advantage on the other side, gelding the opposed continent as much as on the other side it takes from you.
Hey, but a little charge will trench him here, and on this north side win this cape of land, and then he runs straight and east.
Yes, I'll have it so. A little charge will do it.
I'll not have it altered.
Will not you?
No, nor you shall not.
Who shall say me nay?
Why, that will I.
Ah, let me not understand you then. Speak it in Welsh.
I can speak English, Lord, as well as you. For I was trained up in the English court, where being but young, I frame it to the harp. Many an English ditty lovely well, and gave the tongue a helpful ornament. Virtue that was never seen in you.
Marry, And I am glad of it with all my heart. I had rather be a kitten and cry mew than one of these same metered balladmongers.
Come, you shall have Trent turned.
I do not care. I'll give thrice so much land to any well-deserving friend. But in the way of bargain, mark you me, I'll cavil on the 9th part of a hair. Are the indentures drawn? Shall we be gone?
The moon shines fair. You may away by night. I'll haste the rider and withal break with your wives of your departures hence. I'm afraid thy daughter will run mad, so much she doteth on her Mortimer.
Exit Glendower.
Fie, cousin Percy, how can you cross my father?
I cannot choose. Sometimes he angers me with telling me of the mold, warp, and the ant, of the dreamer Merlin and his prophecies, and of a dragon and a finless fish, a clipped-winged griffin and a molten raven, a couching lion and a ramping cat, and such a deal of scamble stuff as puts me from my faith. I'll tell you what. He held me last night at least 9 hours in reckoning up the several devils' names that were his lackeys. I cried, hum, and well, go to, but marked him not a word. Oh, he is as tedious as a tired horse, a railing wife, worse than a smoky house. I had rather live with cheese and garlic in a windmill, far than feed on cates, than have him talk to me in any summer house in Christendom.
In faith, he is a worthy gentleman, exceedingly well read, and profited in such strange concealments, valiant as a lion, and as wondrous affable and as bountiful as mines of India. Shall I tell you, cousin? He holds your temper in a high respect, and curbs himself even of his natural scope when you come cross his humor. Faith, he does. And I warrant you, that man is not alive might so have tempted him as you have done, without the taste of danger and reproof. But do not use it oft, let me entreat you.
In faith, my lord, you are too wilful blame, and since your coming hither have done enough to put him quite beside his patience. You must needs learn, lord, to amend this fault. Though sometimes it shows greatness, courage, blood, and that's the dearest grace it renders you, yet oftentimes it doth present harsh rage, deflective manners, want of government, pride, haughtiness, opinion, and disdain, the least of which, haunting a nobleman, loseth men's hearts, and leaves behind a stain upon the beauty of all parts besides, beguiling them of commendation.
Well, I am schooled. Good manners be your speed. Here come our wives, and let us take our leave.
Re-enter Glendower with Lady Mortimer and Lady Percy.
My daughter weeps. She will not part with you. She'll be a soldier too. Shield to the wars.
This is the deadly spite that angers me. My wife can speak no English. I no Welsh.
Lady Mortimer speaks in Welsh.
I understand thy looks. That pretty Welsh which thou pourest down from these swelling heavens I am too perfect in, and but for shame in such a parley I should answer thee.
They kiss.
I understand thy kisses, and thou mine, and that's a feeling disputation. But I will never be a truant, love, till I have learned thy language, for thy tongue makes Welsh as sweet as ditties highly penned, sung by a fair queen in a summer's bower, with ravishing division to her lute.
Lady Mortimer speaks again in Welsh.
Oh, I am ignorance itself in this.
Come, Kate, and the indentures be drawn. I'll away within these 2 hours, and so come in when you will.
Go, you giddy goose.
Exit Hotspur and Lady Percy.
Come, Lord Mortimer. You're as slow as hot Lord Percy is on fire to go. By this our book is drawn. We'll but seal and then no horse immediately.
All my heart.
Exeunt. Scene 2, London, the palace. Enter King Henry IV and Prince Hal.
I know not whether God will have it so, for some displeasing service I have done, that in his secret doom out of my blood he'll breed revengement and a scourge for me. But thou dost in thy passages of life make me believe that thou art only marked for the hot vengeance and the rod of heaven, to punish my mistreadings. Tell me else. Could such inordinate and low desires, such poor, such bare, such lewd, such mean attempts, such barren pleasures, rude society as thou art matched withal, and grafted to, accompany the greatness of thy blood, and hold their level with thy princely heart?
So please your majesty, I would I could quit all offenses with as clear excuse, as well as I am doubtless I can purge myself of many I am charged withal. Yet such extenuation let me beg, as in reproof of many tales devised, which oft the ear of greatness needs must hear, by smiling pick thanks and base newsmongers I may for some things true, where in my youth have faulty wandered and irregular find pardon in my true submission.
God pardon thee. Yet let me wonder, Harry, at thy affections, which do hold a wing, quite from the flight of all thy ancestors. Thy place in council thou hast rudely lost, which by thy younger brother is supplied, and art almost an alien to the hearts of all the court and princes of my blood. The hope and expectation of thy time is ruined, and the soul of every man prophetically doth forethink thy fall. Had I so lavish of my presence been, so common hackneyed in the eyes of men, so stale and cheap the vulgar company, opinion, had it helped me to the crown, had still kept loyal to possession and left me in reputeless banishment, a fellow of no mark nor likelihood, by being seldom seen I could not stir, but like a comet I was wondered at. That men would tell their children, this is he. Others would say, where? Which is Bolingbroke? And then I stole all courtesy from heaven, and dressed myself in such humility that I did pluck allegiance from men's hearts. Loud shouts and salutations from their mouths, even in the presence of the crowned king. Thus did I keep my person fresh and new, ne'er seen but wondered at. And so my state seldom but sumptuous, showed like a feast, and won by rareness such solemnity. Skipping king, he ambled up and down with shallow gestures and rash maven wits, soon kindled and soon burnt, guarded his state, mingled his royalty with capering fools, grew a companion to the common streets, and fiaffed himself to popularity, that being daily swallowed by men's eyes, they surfeited with honey and began to loathe the taste of sweetness, whereof a little more than a little is by much too much. So, when he had occasion to be seen, he was but as the cuckoo is in June, heard, not regarded, seen but with such eyes as sick and blunted with community, afford no extraordinary gaze, such as is bent on sunlike majesty, when it shines seldom in admiring eyes, but rather drowsed, and hung their eyelids down, being with his presence glutted, gorged, and full. And in that very line, Harry, standest thou, for thou hast lost thy princely privilege, with vile participation. Not an eye, but is a weary of thy common sight, save mine, which hath desired to see thee more, which now doth that I would not have it do, make blind itself with foolish tenderness.
I shall hereafter my thrice gracious lord be more myself.
For all the world, as thou art in this hour, was Richard then, when I from France set foot at Ravensburg, and even as I was then is Percy now. Now, by my scepter, and my soul to boot, he hath more worthy interest to the state than now the shadow of succession. He doth till feels with harness in the realm, turns heads against the lion's armed jaws, and being no more in debt to years than thou, leads ancient lords and reverend bishops on to bloody battles and to bruising arms. What never dying honor hath he got against renowned Douglas? Thrice hath this HOTSPUR, Mars in swaddling clothes, this infant warrior in his enterprises, discomfited Breed Douglas, ta'en him once, and lodged him, and made a friend of him, to fill the mouth of deep defiance up, and shake the peace and safety of our throne. And what say you to this? Percy, Northumberland, the Archbishop's grace of York, Douglas, Mortimer, capitulate against us and are up. But wherefore do I tell thee news to thee? Why, Harry, do I tell thee of my foes, which art my nearest and dearest enemy? Thou that art like enough, through vassal fear, base inclination, and the start of spleen, to fight against me under Percy's pay, to dog his heels and curtsy at his frowns, to show how much thou art degenerate.
Do not think so. You shall not find it so. And God forgive them that so much have swayed your majesty's good thoughts away from me. I will redeem all this on Percy's head, and in the closing of some glorious day be bold to tell you that I am your son, when I will wear a garment all of blood and stain my favors in a bloody mask, which washed away shall scour my shame with it. And that shall be the day, whene'er it lights, that this same child of honor and renown, that this gallant HOTSPUR, this all-praised knight, and your unthought of Harry chance to meet. For every honor sitting on his helm, would they were multitudes, and on my head, my shame's redoubled. For the time will come that I will make this northern youth exchange his glorious deeds for my indignities. Percy is but my factor, good my lord, to engross up glorious deeds on my behalf. And I will call him to so strict account that he shall render every glory up, yea, even the slightest worship of his time, or I will tear the reckoning from his heart. This in the name of God I promise here, the which if he be pleased, I shall perform. I do beseech your majesty may salve the long-grown wounds of my intemperance. If not, the end of life counsels all bands, and I will die 100,000 deaths ere break the smallest parcel of this vow.
100,000 rebels die in this. Thou shalt have charge and sovereign trust herein. How now, good Blunt? Thy looks are full of speed.
So hath the business that I come to speak of. Lord Mortimer of Scotland hath sent word that Douglas and the English rebels met the 11th of this month at Shrewsbury. A mighty and a fearful head they are. If promises be kept on every hand, as ever offered foul play in the state.
The Earl of Westmoreland set forth today, with him my son, Lord John of Lancaster. On Wednesday next, Harry, you shall set forth. On Thursday, we ourselves will march. Our meeting is Bridgenorth, some 12 days hence. Let's away. Advantage feeds him fat while men delay.
Exeunt. Scene 3. East Cheap, the Boar's Head Tavern. Enter Falstaff and Bardolph.
Baldolph, Am I not fallen away vilely since this last action? Do I not bate? Do I not dwindle? Why, my skin hangs about me like an old lady's loose gown. I am withered like an old apple john. I have lived well and in good compass, and now I live out of all order, out of all compass.
Why, you're so fat, Sir John, that you must needs be out of all compass, out of all reasonable compass, Sir John.
Do thou amend thy face, and I'll amend my life.
As blood I would my face were in your belly.
Oh, God of mercy. So should I be sure to be heartburned.
Enter Mistress quickly.
How now, Dame Butler the Hen? Have you inquired yet who picked my pocket?
Why, Sir John, what do you think, Sir John? Do you think I keep thieves in my house? I have searched, I have inquired, so has my husband, man by man, boy by boy, servant by servant. The tithe of a hair was never lost in my house before.
Thou liest, hostess. BARDOLPH was shaved and lost many a hair, and I'll be sworn my pocket was picked. Go to. You are a woman. Go.
Who, I? No, I defy thee. God's light, I was never called so in mine own house before.
Go to. I know you well enough.
No, Sir John, you do not know me, Sir John. I know you, Sir John. You owe me money, Sir John, and now you pick a quarrel to beguile me of it. You owe money for your diet and buy drinkings, 4 and 20 pounds.
But he had his part in it. Let him pay.
He who has his poor, he hath nothing.
How poor. Oh, look upon his face. What call you rich? Let them coin his nose. Let them coin his cheeks. I'll not pay a denier. What? Will you make a yonker out of me? Shall I not take mine case in mine inn, but I shall have my pocket picked? I have lost a seal ring of my grandfather's worth 40 mark.
Oh, Jesu, I have heard the prince tell him, I know not how oft, the ring was copper.
Oh, the prince is a jack, a sneak up blood. And he were here, I would cudgel him like a dog if he would say so.
Enter Prince Hal and PETO, marching, and Falstaff meets them playing on his truncheon like a fife. Sorry.
Oh, now, lad, is the wind in that door in faith? Must we all march?
My lord, I pray you hear me.
What sayest thou, mistress, quickly?
Prithee, let her alone, and list to me.
What sayest thou, Jack?
The other night I fell asleep here behind the arras and had my pocket picked. Ah, this house is turned bawdy house. They pick pockets.
What didst thou lose, Jack?
Wilt thou believe me, Hal? 3 or 4 bonds of 40 pound apiece, and a seal ring of my grandfather's.
A trifle, some 8-penny matter.
So I told him, my lord, and I said, I heard your grace say so. And, my lord, he speaks most vilely of you, like a foul-mouthed man as he is, and said he would cudgel you.
What? He did not.
There's neither faith truth nor womanhood in me else.
Oh, there's no more faith in thee than in a stewed prune, nor no more truth in thee than in a drawn fox. And for womanhood, Maid Marian may be the deputy's wife of the ward to thee. Go, you thing, go!
Say, what thing? What thing?
What thing? Why, a thing to thank God on.
I am no thing to thank God on. I would thou shouldst know it. I am an honest man's wife, and setting that knighthood aside, thou art a knave to call me so.
Oh, setting thy womanhood aside, thou art a beast to say otherwise.
Say what, beast, thou knave, thou?
What beast? Why, an otter.
An otter, Sir John? Why an otter?
Why, she's neither fish nor flesh. A man knows not where to have her.
Thou art an unjust man in saying so. Thou or any man knows where to have me, thou knave, thou.
Thou sayest true, mistress, and he slanders thee most grossly.
So he doth you, my lord, and said this the other day, you ought him 1,000 pounds.
Sirrah, do I owe you 1,000 pounds?
1,000 pound how? 1,000,000? Thy love is worth 1,000,000. Thou owest me thy love.
Nay, my lord, he called you Jack, and said he would cudgel you.
Did I, Bardolph?
Indeed, Sir John, you said so.
Yea, if he said my rig was copper?
I say 'tis copper. Darest thou be as good to thy word now?
Why, how? Thou knowest as thou art but man, I dare, but as thou art prince, I fear thee as I fear the roaring of a lion's whelp.
And why not as the lion?
The king is to be feared as the lion. Dost thou think I'll fear thee as I fear thy father? Nay, and I do. Pray God my girdle break.
Oh, if it should, how would thy guts fall about thy knees? But Sirrah, there's no room for faith, truth, nor honesty in this bosom of mine. It is all filled up with guts and midriff. Charge an honest woman with picking thy pocket. Why, thou whoreson, impudent, embossed rascal, if there were anything in thy pocket but tavern reckonings, memorandums of bawdy houses, and one poor penny worth of sugar candy to make thee long-winded, if thy pocket were enriched with any other injuries but these, I am a villain. And yet you will stand to it. You will not pocket up wrong. Art thou not ashamed?
You confess, then. You picked my pocket.
It appears so by the story.
Hostess, I forgive thee. Go make ready breakfast. Love thy husband. Look to thy servants. Cherish thy guest. Thou shalt find me tractable to any honest reason. Thou seest, I am pacified still. Nay, prithee, be gone. Now, Hal, to the news at court. For the robbery, lad. How was that answered?
Oh, my sweet beef. I must still be good angel to thee. The money is paid back again.
Oh, I do not like that paying back. 'Tis a double labor.
I am good friends with my father, and may do anything.
Rub me the exchequer the first thing thou dost, and do it with unwashed hands too.
I have procured thee, Jack, a charge of foot.
I would it had been of horse. I am heinously unprovided. Well, God be thanked for these rebels. They offend none but the virtuous. I laud them. I praise them.
Bardolph.
My lord?
Go bear this letter to Lord John of Lancaster, to my brother John. This to my lord of Westmoreland. Go, PETO, to horse, for thou and I have 30 miles to ride yet ere dinner time. Jack, meet me tomorrow in the Temple Hall at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There thou shalt know thy charge, and there receive money and order for the furniture. The land is burning. Percy stands on high. Neither we or they must lower lie.
Exit your town.
Oh, rare words. A brave world. Hostess, my breakfast. Come. Oh, I could wish this tavern were my drum.
Exeunt. Act 4, Scene 1. The rebel camp near Shrewsbury. Enter Hotspur, Worcester, and Douglas.
Well said, my noble Scot. If speaking truth in this fine age were not thought flattery, such attribution should the Douglas have as not a soldier of this season's stamp should go so general current through the world. By God, I cannot falter. I do defy the tongues of soothers. But a braver place in my heart's love hath no man than yourself. Nay, task me to my word. Approve me, Lord.
Thou art the king of honor. No man so potent breathes upon the ground, but I will beard him.
Do so, and 'tis well.
Enter messenger with letters.
What letters hast thou there?
These letters come from your father.
Letters from him? Why comes he not himself?
He cannot come, my lord. He is grievous sick.
Zounds, how has he the leisure to be sick in such a rustling time? Who leads his power? Under whose government come they along?
Messenger hands the letters to Hotspur, who begins reading.
His letters bear his mind, not I, my lord.
Would state that of time had first been whole ere he by sickness had been visited. His health was never better worth than now.
Sick now? Droop now? This sickness doth infect the very lifeblood of our enterprise. 'Tis catching hither even to our camp. He writes me here that inward sickness, that his friends by deputation could not be so soon be drawn. No, did he think it meet to lay so dangerous and dear a trust on any soul removed but on his own? Yet doth he give us bold advertisement that with our small conjunction we should on to see how fortune is disposed to us? For as he writes, there is no quailing now, because the king is certainly possessed of all our purposes. What say you to it?
Father's sickness is a maim to us.
A perilous gash, a very limb lopped off, and yet in faith it is not. His present want seems more than we should find it. Were it good to set the exact wealth of all our states, all at one cast, to set so rich a main on the nice hazard of one doubtful hour, if it were not good, for therein should we read the very bottom and soul of hope, the very list, the very utmost bound of all our fortunes.
Yet, I would your father had been here. The quality and hair of our attempt brook no division. It will be thought by some that know not why he is away, that wisdom, loyalty, and mere dislike of our proceedings kept the earl from hence. And think how such an apprehension may turn the tide of fearful faction and breed a kind of question in our cause. For you, for well you know, we of the offering side must keep aloof from strict arbitrament, and stop all sight holes every loop from whence the eye of reason may pry in upon us. The absence of your father draws a curtain that shows the ignorant a kind of fear before not dreamt of.
You strain too far. I rather of his absence make this use. It lends a luster and more great opinion, a larger dare to our great enterprise than if the Earl were here. For men must think if we without his help can make a head to push against the kingdom, with his help we shall overturn it topsy-turvy down. Yet all goes well, yet all our joints are whole.
I can think there is not such a word spoke of in Scotland as this term of fear.
My cousin Vernon, welcome by my soul.
For God, my news be worth a welcome, Lord. The Earl of Westmoreland, 7,000 strong, is marching hitherwards with him Prince John.
No harm? What more?
And further, I have learned, the king himself in person is set forth, for hitherwards intended speedily with strong and mighty preparation.
He shall be welcome too. Where is his son, the nimble-footed madcap Prince of Wales, and his comrades, that daft the world aside and bid it pass?
All furnished, all in arms, glittering in golden coats like images, as full of spirit as the month of May, and gorgeous as the sun at midsummer, wanton as youthful goats, wild as young bulls. I saw young Harry with his beaver on, his cuisses on his thighs, gallantly armed, rise from the ground like feathered Mercury, and vaulted with such ease into his seat as if an angel dropped down from the clouds, to turned and wind a fiery Pegasus, and witch the world with noble horsemanship.
No more, no more. This praise doth nourish augurs. Let them come. They come like sacrifices in their trim, and to the fire-eyed maid of smoky war, all hot and bleeding, will we offer them. The mailed Mars shall on his altar sit up to the ears in blood. I am on fire to hear this rich reprisal is so nigh and yet not ours. Come, let me taste my horse, who is to bear me like a thunderbolt against the bosom of the Prince of Wales. Harry to Harry shall, hot horse to horse, meet and never part till one drop down a course. Oh, that Glendower were come.
There is more news.
Oh. Yes.
I learned in Worcester as I rode along, he cannot draw his power this 14 days.
The worst hiding that I hear of yet.
Aye, by my fate that bears a frosty sound.
What may the king's whole battle reach unto?
To 30,000.
Ooh. 40 let it be. My father and Glendower being both away, the powers of us may say, so great a day. Come, let us take a muster speedily. Doomsday is near. Die all. Die merrily.
Not of dying. I am out of fear of death, or death's hand for this 1/2 year.
Exeunt. Scene 2. A public road near Coventry. An army marches. Enter Falstaff leading.
If I be not ashamed of my soldiers, I am a South Gurnet. I have misused the king's press damnably. I have got an exchange of 150 soldiers, 300 and odd pounds. I impress me none but good householders, yeomen's sons. Inquire me out, contracted bachelors, I press me none but such toast and butter with hearts in their bellies no bigger than a pin's head. And they have brought out their services. And now my whole charge consists of ancients, corporals, lieutenants, gentlemen of companies, and such as indeed were never soldiers, but discarded unjust servingmen, younger sons to younger brothers, revolted tapsters, and ostlers trade fallen, the cankers of a calm world, and a long peace 10 times more dishonorable ragged than an old feased ancient. A mad fellow met me on the way and told me I had unloaded all the gibbets and pressed the dead bodies. Oh, no eye had seen such scarecrows. I'll not march through Coventry with them, that's flat. Nay, and the villains march wide betwixt the legs as if they had gyves on. For indeed, I had the most of them out of prison.
Enter Prince Hal and the Lord of Westmoreland.
How now, Blown Jack? How now, Quilt?
Oh! Why, what how? What thou, mad wag? What a devil dost thou in Warwickshire? My good lord of Westmoreland, I cry your mercy. I thought your honor had already been at Shrewsbury.
Faith, Sir John, 'tis more than time that I were there, and you too. But my powers are there already. The king, I can tell you, looks for us all. We must away all night.
Tut, never fear me. I am as vigilant as a cat to steal cream.
I think to steal cream indeed, for thy heft hath already made thee butter. But tell me, Jack, whose fellows are these that come after?
Mine, how? Mine.
I did never see such pitiful rascal.
Ah, tut, tut. Good enough to toss food for powder, food for powder. They'll all fit as well as better. Hush, man. Mortal men. Mortal men.
But Sir John, methinks they are exceedingly poor, and bare, too beggarly.
Oh, faith for their poverty. I know for all their bareness. I am sure they never learned that of me.
No, I'll be sworn, unless you call 3 fingers on the ribs bare. But Sirrah, make haste. Percy is already in the field.
What? Is the king encamped?
He is, Sir John. I fear we shall stay too long.
Exit Westmoreland.
Well, to the latter end of the fray and the beginning of a feast. Fits a dull fighter, and the king guest. Ha, ha.
Excellent. Scene 3. The rebel camp near Shrewsbury. Enter Hotspur, Worcester, Douglas, and Vernon.
We'll fight with him tonight.
May not be.
You give him then the advantage.
Not a whit.
Why say you so? Looks he not for supply?
So do we.
His is certain. Ours is doubtful.
Good cousin, be advised, stir not tonight.
Do not, my lord.
You do not counsel well. You speak it out of fear and cold heart.
I hold, as little counsel with weak fear as you, my lord, or any Scot that this day lives. Let it be seen tomorrow in the battle which of us fears.
Yea, or tonight.
Content.
Tonight, say I.
Come, it may not be. I wonder much, being men of such great leading as you are, that you foresee not what impediments drag back our expedition. Certain horse of my cousin Vernon's are not yet come up. Your uncle Worcester's horses came but today, and now their pride and mettle is asleep. Their courage with hard labor tame and dull, that not a horse is half the half of himself. The number of the king exceedeth ours. For God's sake, cousin, stay till all come in.
The trumpet sounds a parley. Enter Blunt.
I come with gracious offers from the king, if you vouchsafe me hearing and respect.
Welcome, Sir Walter Blunt, and would to God you are of our determination. Some of us love you well, and even those, some even your great deservings and good name, because you are not of our quality, but stand against us like an enemy.
And God defend, but still I should stand so long as out of limit and true rule you stand against anointed majesty. But to my charge, the king hath sent to know the nature of your griefs, and whereupon you conjure from the breast of civil peace such bold hostility, teaching his duteous land audacious cruelty, if that the king have any way your good deserts forgot, which he confesseth to be manifold, he bids you name your griefs, and with all speed you shall have your desires with interest, and pardon absolute for yourself and these herein misled by your suggestion.
The king is kind, and well we know the king knows at what time to promise, when to pay. My father, my uncle, and myself did give him that same royalty he wears, and when he was not 26 strong, sick in the world's regard, wretched and low, a poor unminded outlaw sneaking home. My father gave him welcome to this shore, and when he heard him swear and vow to God, he came but to be Duke of Lancaster, to sue his livery and beg his peace with tears of innocency and terms of zeal. My father, in kind heart and pity moved, swore him assistance and performed it too. Now when the lords and barons of the realm perceived Northumberland did lean to him, the more and less came in with cap and knee, met him in boroughs, cities, and villages, attended him on bridges, stood in lanes, laid gifts before him, proffered their oaths, gave him their heirs as pages, followed him even at the heels in golden multitudes. He presently, as greatness knows itself, steps me a little higher than his vow made to my father while his blood was poor upon the naked shore at Ravensburg, and now, forsooth, takes on him to reform some certain edicts and some strait decrees that lie too heavy on the Commonwealth, cries out upon abuses, seems to weep over his country's wrongs, and by this face, this seeming brow of justice, did he win the hearts of all that he did angle for. Proceeded further, cut me off the heads of all the favorites that the absent king in deputation left behind him here when he was personal in the Irish War. In short time after, he deposed the king. Soon after that, deprived him of his life, and in the neck of that, tasked the whole state. To make that worse, suffered his kinsman's march, who is, if every owner were well placed, indeed his king, to be engaged in Wales, there without ransom to lie forfeited, disgraced me in my happy victories, sought to entrap me by intelligence, raided mine uncle from the council board, enraged, dismissed my father from the court, broke oath on oath, committed wrong on wrong, and in conclusion drove us to seek out this head of safety, and withal to pry into his title, the which we find too indirect for long continuance.
Shall I return this answer to the king?
Not so, Sir Walter. We'll withdraw a while. Go to the king, and let there be in pawned some surety for a safe return again. And in the morning early shall my uncle bring him our purposes. And so farewell.
Would you would accept of grace and love?
And maybe so we shall.
By God you do.
Exeunt.
Scene 4, York, the Archbishop's palace. Enter the Archbishop of York and Sir Michael.
Hey, good Sir Michael, bear this sealed brief with winged haste to the Lord Marshal. This to my cousin's troop, and all the rest to whom they are directed. If you knew how much they do import, you would make haste.
My good lord, I guess they're tenor.
Like enough you do. Tomorrow, good Sir Michael, is a day wherein the fortune of 10,000 men must bide the touch. For, sir, at Shrewsbury, as I am truly given to understand, the king with mighty, quick raised power meets with Lord Harry. And I fear, Sir Michael, what with this sickness of Northumberland, whose power was in the first portion, and what with Owen Glendower's absence hence, who with them was a rated sinew too, and not comed not in, or ruled by prophecies. I fear the power of Percy is too weak to wait an instant trial with the king.
Why, my good lord, you need not fear. There is Douglas and Lord Mortimer.
No, Mortimer is not there.
But there is Mordrag, Vernon, Lord Harry Percy, and there is my Lord of Worcester, a head of gallant warriors, noble gentlemen.
And so there is. But yet the king has drawn the special head of all the land together. The Prince of Wales, Lord John of Lancaster, the noble Westmoreland and the warlike Blunt, and many more co-rivals and dear men of estimation and command in arms.
Doubt not, my lord. They shall be well opposed.
I hope no less, yet needful is to fear. And to prevent the worst, Sir Michael, speed. For if Lord Percy thrive not, ere the king dismisses power, he means to visit us, for he has heard wisdom to make strong against him. Therefore make haste. I must go right again to other friends. So farewell, Sir Michael.
Exeunt. Act 5. Scene 1. King Henry IV's camp near Shrewsbury. Enter King Henry, Prince Hal, Lord John of Lancaster, Earl of Westmoreland, Blunt, and Falstaff.
How bloodily the sun begins to peer above yon bulky hill.
Southern wind doth play the trumpet to his purposes. By his howling, whistling in the leaves, foretells a tempest and a blustering day.
Then with the losers let it sympathize, for nothing can seem foul to those that win.
The trumpet sounds. Enter Worcester and Vernon.
How now, my lord of Worcester? 'Tis not well that you and I should meet upon such terms as now we meet. You have deceived our trust, and made us doff our easy robes of peace, to crush our old limbs in ungentle steel. This is not well, my lord, this is not well. What say you to it? Will you again unknit this churlish knot of all abhorrent war, and move in that obedient orb again, where you did give a fair and natural light, and be no more an exhaled meteor, a prodigy of fear and a portent of broaching mischief to the unborn times?
Hear me, my liege. For mine own part, I could be well content to entertain the lag end of my life with quiet hours. For I protest, I have not sought the day of this dislike.
You have not sought it. How comes it then?
Rebellion lay in his way, and he found it.
Peace, Jewett, peace.
It pleased your majesty to turn your looks of favor from myself and all our house. And yet, I must remember you, my lord. We were the first and dearest of your friends. For you, my staff of office, did I break in Richard's time and posted day and night to meet you on the way and kiss your hand, when yet you were in place and in account nothing so strong fortunate as I. It was myself, my brother and his son, that brought you home and boldly did out there the dangers of the time. You swore to us, and you did swear that oath at Doncaster, that you did nothing purpose against the state, nor claim no further than your new fallen knight, the seat of Gaunt, dukedom of Lancaster. To this we swore our aid, but in short space it rained down fortune showering on your head, and such a flood of greatness fell on you, what with our help, what with the absent king, what with the injuries of a wanton time, the seeming sufferances that you had borne, and the contrarious winds that held the king so long in his unlucky Irish wards, that all in England did repute him dead. And from this swarm of fair advantages, you took occasion to be quickly wooed to gripe the general sway into your hand. Forget your oath to us at Doncaster. And being fed by us, you used us so as that ungentle gull, the cuckoo's bird, useth the sparrow, did oppress our nest, grew by our feeding so great a bulk, even our love durst not come near your sight for fear of swallowing. But with nimble wing, we were enforced for safety's sake to fly out of sight and raise this present head, whereby we stand opposed by such means as you yourself have forged against yourself by unkind usage, dangerous countenance, and violation of all faith and troth sworn to us in your younger enterprise.
These things indeed you have articulate, proclaimed at market crosses, read in churches to face the garment of rebellion with some fine color that may please the eye of fickle changelings and poor discontents, which gape and rub the elbow at the news of hurly-burly innovation. And never yet did insurrection want such watercolors to impaint this his cause, nor moody beggars starving for a time of pell-mell havoc and confusion.
In both your armies, there's many a soul shall pay full dearly for this encounter if once they go into trial. Tell your nephew, the Prince of Wales, does join with all the world in praise of Harry Percy. By my hopes, this present enterprise set off his head, I do not think a braver gentleman, more active valiant, or more valiant young, or daring or more bold, is now alive to grace this latter age with noble deeds. For my part, I may speak it to my shame, I have been a truant to chivalry, and so I hear he doth account me too. Yet this before my father's majesty, I am content that he shall take the odds of his great name and estimation, and will, save the blood on either side, try fortune with him in a single fight.
And, Prince of Wales, so dare we venture thee, albeit considerations infinite, to make against it. No, good Worcester, no. We love our people well, even those we love that are misled upon your cousin's part. And will they take the offer of our grace? Both he and they and you, yea, every man shall be my friend again, and I'll be his. So tell your cousin, and bring me word. He will do. But if he will not yield, rebuke and dread correction be on us, and they shall do their office. So be gone. We offer fair. Take it advisedly.
Exeunt Worcester and Vernon.
It will not be accepted on my life. The Douglas and the Hotspur both together are confident against the world in arms.
Hence, therefore, every leader to his charge, for on their answer we will set on them, and God befriend us, as our cause is just.
Hal, if you see me down in the battle and bestride me, so 'tis a point of a friendship.
Nothing but a Colossus can do thee that friendship. Say thy prayers and farewell. Thou owest God a death.
It is not due yet. I would be loath to pay him before his day. What need I be so forward with him that calls not on me? Well, 'tis no matter. Honor pricks me on. Yea, but how if honor pricks me on when I come on? How then? Can honor set a leg? No. Or an arm? No. Or take away the grief of a wound? No. Honor hath no skill in surgery, then? No. What is honor? A word. What is that word? Honor. What is that honor? A trim reckoning. Who hath it? He that died a Wednesday. Oh. Does he feel it? No. Doth he hear it? No. 'Tis insensible then. Yea, to the dead. But will it not live with the living? No. Why? Detraction will not suffer it. Therefore, I'll none of it. Honor is a mere scutcheon, and so ends my catechism. Ah!
Exit Falstaff. Scene 2, the rebel camp. Enter Worcester and Vernon.
No, my nephew must not know, Sir Richard, the liberal and kind offer of the king.
Best he did.
Then we are all undone. It is not possible. It cannot be the king should keep his word in loving us. He will suspect us still and find a time to punish this offense in other faults. Suspicion all our lives shall be stuck full of eyes, for treason is but trusted life. Who never so tame, so cherished and locked up, will have a wild trick of his ancestors. My nephew's trespass may well be forgot. It hath the excuse of youth and heat of blood, and an adopted name of privilege, a harebrained Hotspur governed by a spleen. All his offenses live upon my head and on his father's. We did train him on, and his corruption being ta'en from us was as the spring of all shall pay for all. Therefore, good cousin, let not Harry know in any case the offer of the king.
Deliver what you will. I'll say 'tis so. Here comes your cousin.
Ah, my uncle has returned. Deliver up my lord of Westmoreland. Uncle, what news?
The king will bid you battle presently.
I am by the Lord of Westmoreland.
Lord Douglas, go you and tell him so.
Mary, and shall and very willingly.
Exit Douglas.
There is no seeming mercy in the king. I told him gently of our grievances, of his oath breaking, which he mentioned thus, by now forswearing that he is forsworn. He calls us rebels, traitors, and will scourge with haughty arms this hateful name in us.
Re-enter Douglas.
Arms, gentlemen, to arms, for I have thrown a brave defiance in King Henry's teeth. And Westmoreland, that was engaged, did bear it, which could not choose but bring him quickly on.
The Prince of Wales stepped forth before the king, and nephew challenged you to single fight.
Oh, would the quarrel lay upon our heads, and that no man might draw short breath today, but I and Harry Monmouth. Tell me, how showed his tasking? Seemed it in contempt?
No, by my soul. I never in my life did hear a challenge urged more modestly. Unless a brother should a brother dare to gentle exercise in proof of arms. He gave you all the duties of a man, trimmed up your praises with a princely tongue, spoke to your deservings by still dispraising praise valued with you, and, which became him like a prince indeed, he made a blushing sightle of himself, and chid his truant youth with such a grace as if he mastered thee a double spirit of teaching and of learning instantly. There did he pause. But let me tell the world, if he outlive the envy of this day, England did never owe so sweet a hope, so much misconstrued in his wantonness.
Cousin, I think thou art enamored on his follies. Never did I hear of any prince so wild of liberty. But be he as he will, yet once ere night I will embrace him with a soldier's arm, that he shall shrink under my courtesy. Arm with speed, and fellows, soldiers, friends, better consider what you have to do and lift your blood up with persuasion. Oh, gentlemen, the time of life is short. To spend that shortness basely were too long if life did ride upon a dial's point, still ending at the arrival of an hour. And if we live to tread on kings. If die, brave death, when princes die with us. Now, for our consciences, the arms are fair, with the intent of bearing them is just.
Oh, a messenger.
My lord, prepare. The king comes on apace.
Let each man do his best, and here draw I a sword, whose temper I intend to stain with the best blood that I can meet withal in the adventure of this perilous day. Now, Esperance, Percy, and set on. Sound all the lofty instruments of war, and by that music let us all embrace. For, heaven to earth, some of us never shall, a second time, do such a courtesy.
The trumpets sound. They embrace and exeunt.
Scene 3, plain between the camps. King Henry enters with his power, crosses the stage and exits. Alarm to the battle. Then enter Douglas and Blunt, disguised as the king.
What is thy name, that in this battle thus thou crossest me? What honor dost thou seek upon my head?
No, then my name is Douglas, and I do hath thee in the battle thus, because some tells me that thou art a king.
They tell thee true.
The Lord of Stratford here today hath brought thy likeness, for instead of thee, King Harry, this sword hath ended him. So shalt it thee, unless thou yield thee as my prisoner.
I was not born a yielder, thou proud Scot, and thou shalt find a king that will revenge Lord Stratford's death.
They fight. Douglas kills Blunt. Enter Hotspur.
All's done. All's won. Here breathless lies the king.
Where?
Here.
This Douglas? No, I know this face full well. A gallant knight he was. His name was Blunt. Sembably furnished like the king himself.
Fool, go with thy soul, whether it goes. A borrowed title hast thou bought to bear. Why didst thou tell me thou wert a
The
king?
king hath made many marching in his coats.
Now by my sword I will kill all his coats. I'll murder all his wardrobe, piece by piece, until I meet the
Up
king.
and away, our soldiers stand full fairly for the day.
Exeunt. Alarm. Enter Falstaff alone.
Oh, though I could scape shot free at London, I fear the shot here. But here's no scoring but upon the pate.
He sees Blunt's body.
Soft. Who are you? Sir Walter Blunt. There's honor for you. There's no vanity. I am as hot as molten lead, and as heavy too. God keep lead out of me. I need no more weight than mine own bowels. I have led my ragamuffins where they are peppered. There's not 3 of my 150 left alive. But who comes here?
Enter Prince Hal, disarmed.
What? Standst thou idle? Lend me thy sword. Many a nobleman lies stark and stiff under the hooves of vaunting enemies, whose deaths are yet unrevenged. I prithee, lend me my sword.
I prithee, give me leave to breathe a while. Turk Gregory never did such deeds in arms as I have done this day. I have paid Percy. I have made him sure.
He is indeed, and living to kill thee. I prithee, lend me thy sword.
Nay, before God, Hal, if Percy be alive, thou gettest not my sword, but take my pistol if thou wilt.
Give it to me. What? Is it in the case?
Aye, Hal, 'tis hot. 'Tis hot. There's that will sack a city.
Prince Hal draws it out and finds it to be a bottle of sack wine.
What? Is it a time to jest and dally now?
He throws the bottle at Falstaff and exits.
Well, if Percy be alive, I'll pierce him. If he do come my ways, so. If he do not, I come in his willingly. Let him make a carbonado of me. I like not such grinning honor as Sir Walter have. Give me life, which, if I can save so, if not, honor comes unlooked for. And there's an end.
Exit Falstaff. Scene 4, another part of the field. Alarm, excursions, enter King Henry, Prince Hal, injured and bleeding, Lord John of Lancaster and Earl of Westmoreland.
I prithee, Harry, withdraw thyself. Thou bleedst too much. Lord John of Lancaster, go you with him.
Lancaster.
Lord John of Lancaster, go you with him.
Sorry, I'm trying to find it.
I prithee, Lord John of Lancaster, go you with him.
Someone can say it for me. I can't find it.
My lord, unless I did bleed too.
I beseech your majesty, make up, lest your retirement do amaze your friends.
I will do so. My lord of Westmoreland, lead him to his tent.
My lord, I'll lead you to your tent.
Lead me, my lord. I do not need your help. God forbid a shallow scratch should drive the Prince of Wales from such a field as this, where stained nobility lies trodden on and rebels' arms triumph in
We
massacre.
breathe too long. Come, cousin Westmoreland, our duty this way lies. For God's sake, come.
Exeunt Lancaster and Westmoreland.
By God, thou hast deceived me, Lancaster. I did not think thee lord of such a spirit. Before I loved thee as a brother, John, but now I do respect thee as my soul.
I saw him hold Lord Percy at the point with lustier maintenance than I did look for of such an ungrown warrior.
This boy lends metal to us all.
Exit Prince Hal, enter Douglas.
Another king? They grow like Hydra's heads. I am Douglas, fatal to all those that wear those colors on them. What art thou? That counterfeits the person of a king?
The king himself, who, Douglas, grieves at heart. So many of his shadows thou hast met, and not the very king. I have 2 boys. Seek Percy and thyself about the field, but seeing thou failst on me so luckily, I will essay thee and defend thyself.
I fear thou art another counterfeit, and yet in faith thou bearest thee like a king. But mine, I am sure thou art, who there be, and thus I win thee.
They fight. King Henry, being in danger, Prince Hal enters.
Hold up thy head, vile Scot, or thou art like never to hold it up again. The spirits of valiant Shirley Stafford Blunt are in my arms. It is the Prince of Wales that threatens thee, who never promiseth, but he means to pay.
They fight. Douglas flies.
Cheerly, my lord. How fears your grace? Sir Nicholas Gauzy hath for succor sent, and so hath Clifton. I'll to Clifton straight.
Thou hast redeemed thy lost opinion, and showed thou makest some tender of my life. In this fair rescue thou hast brought to me.
Oh God, they did me too much injury that ever said I hearkened for your death. If it were so, I might have let alone that insulting hand of Douglas over you, which would have been as speedy in your end as all the poisonous potions in the world, and saved the treacherous labor of your son.
Make up to Clifton. I'll to Sir Nicholas Gauzy.
Exit King Henry, enter Hotspur.
If I mistake not, thou art Henry Mammoth.
Thou speakst as if I would deny my name.
My name is Harry Percy.
Why then, I see, a very valiant rebel of the name. I am the Prince of Wales, and think not, Percy, to share with me in glory any more. 2 stars keep not their motion in one sphere, nor can one England brook a double reign of Harry Percy and the Prince of Wales.
Nor shall it, Harry, for the hour is come to end the one of us, and would to God thy name in arms were now as great as mine.
I'll make it greater ere I part from thee.
They fight. Enter Falstaff. Enter Falstaff.
Well said, Hal. Do it, Hal. No, you shall find no boys. Play here, I can tell you.
Re-enter Douglas. He fights with Falstaff, who falls down as if he were dead, and exit Douglas. Hotspur is wounded and falls.
Oh, Harry, thou hast robbed me of my youth. I better brook the loss of brittle life than those proud titles thou hast won of me. They wound my thoughts worse than sword my flesh. But thoughts, the slave of life, and life, time's fool, and time, that takes survey of all the world, must have a stop. Oh, I could prophesy, but that the earthy and cold hand of death lies on my tongue. No, Percy, thou art dust and food for.
He dies.
For worms, brave Percy. Fare thee well, great heart. Ill-weaved ambition, how much art thou shrunk? And that this body did contain a spirit, a kingdom for it was too small a bound. But now 2 paces of the vilest earth is room enough. This earth that bears thee dead, there's not alive so stout a gentleman. If thou adieu, and take thy praise with thee to heaven. Thy ignominy sleep with thee in the grave, but not remembered in thy epitaph. What? Old acquaintance. Could not all this flesh keep in a little life? Poor Jack. Farewell. I could have better spared a better man. I should have a heavy miss of thee if I were much in love with Van here today, though many dearer in this bloody fray than Bald will I see by and by. Till then in blood my noble Percy lie.
Exit Prince Hal. Falstaff rises.
Embowled? If thou embowled me today, I'll give you leave to bow to me and eat me too. Tomorrow, blood. 'Twas time to counterfeit, or that termagant Scott had paid me Scott and a lot too. A counterfeit, I lie. I am no counterfeit. To die is to be a counterfeit, but he is but the counterfeit of a man who hath not the life of a man, but the counterfeit dying when a man thereby liveth is to be no counterfeit, but the true and perfect image of life indeed. The better part of valor is discretion, in the which better part I have saved my life. Ha ha! Zoons! I am afraid of this gunpowder, Percy, though he be dead. How if he should counterfeit too, and rise? By my faith, I am afraid he would prove the better counterfeit. Therefore, I'll make sure, yeah, and I'll swear it, I killed him. Why may not he rise as well as I? Nothing confutes me but eyes, and nobody sees me. Therefore, Sarah,
Falstaff stabs Hotspur.
I come you along with me.
He takes up Hotspur on his back. Re-enter Prince Hal and Lord John of Lancaster.
Come, brother John, full bravely hast thou fleshed thy maiden sword. Brother John, come.
What's up?
What's up?
We
Who
here.
have we here? Did you not tell me this fat man was dead?
I did. I saw him dead, breathless, and breathing on the ground. Art thou alive, or is it fantasy that plays upon our eyesight? I prithee, speak. We will not trust our eyes without our ears. Thou art not what thou seemst.
No, that's certain. I am not a double man, but if I be not, there is Percy. Boom. If your father will be any honor, sir. If not, let me kill the next Percy myself. I look to be either Earl or Duke, I can assure
Why, Percy,
you.
I killed myself and saw thee dead.
Didst thou? Lord, how this world is given to lying, I grant you. I was down and out of breath, and so was he. But we rose, both in an instant, and fought a long hour by Shrewsbury clock. And if I may be believed, so. If not, let them that should reward valor bear the sin upon their own heads. I'll take it upon my death. I gave him this wound in the thigh. If the man were alive and would deny it, zooms, I would make him eat a piece of my sword.
This is the strangest tale that ever I heard.
This is the strangest fellow, Brother John. Come, bring your luggage nobly on your back. For my part, if a lie may do thee grace, I'll gild it with the happiest terms I have.
A retreat is sounded.
The trumpet sounds retreat. The day is ours. Come, brother, let us to the highest of the field, to see what friends are living, who are dead.
Exeunt Prince Hal and Lancaster.
I'll follow, as they say, for reward. He that rewards me, God reward him.
Exit Falstaff with Hotspur's body. Scene 5, another part of the field. The trumpets sound. Enter King Henry IV, Prince Hal, Lord John Lancaster, Earl of Westmoreland, with Worcester and Vernon, prisoners and soldiers.
Thus ever did rebellion find rebuke, ill spirit at Worcester. Did not we send grace, pardon, and terms of love to all of you? And wouldst thou turn our offers contrary, misuse the tenor of thy kinsman's trust? 3 knights upon our party slain today, a noble earl, and many a creature else had been alive this hour, if like a Christian thou hadst truly borne betwixt our armies true intelligence.
What I have done my safety urged me to, and I embrace this fortune patiently, since not to be avoided it falls on me.
Bear Worcester to the death, and Vernon too. Other offenders we will pause upon.
Exeunt Worcester and Vernon, guarded.
How goes the field?
The noble Scot, Lord Douglas, when he saw the fortune of the day quite turned from him, the noble Percy slain and all his men upon the foot of fear, fled with the rest, and falling from a hill, he was so bruised that the pursuers took him. At my tent the Douglas is, and I beseech your grace I may dispose of him.
With all my heart.
Then, Brother John of Lancaster, to you this honorable bounty shall belong. Go to the Douglas, and deliver him up to his pleasure, ransomless and free. His valor shown upon our crest today hath taught us how to cherish such high deeds, even the bosom of our adversaries.
I thank your grace for this high courtesy, which I shall give away immediately.
And this aims that we divide our power, you, son John, and my cousin Westmoreland, towards York, to bend you with your dearest speed, to meet Northumberland and the prelate Scroop, who, as we hear, are busily in arms. Myself and you, son Harry, will towards Wales to fight with Glendower and the Earl of March. Rebellion in this land shall lose his sway, meeting the check of such another day. And since this business so fair is done, let us not leave till all our own be.
Exeunt.
Huzzah! Huzzah! Huzzah!
Is Bernie alive?
And thus begins the War of the Roses.
Harley, you need a crown. We have to get you a crown.